Well, it's pretty obvious now that it is a fact that the state of the world does hang on a fine thread, and that fine thread is within the psyche of the human being. And that fine thread can snap, and it snapped twice yesterday. We saw mass shootings, and within the last like what 2 weeks, there's been like 5 shootings or something. I don't know, and you start to lose count. Um, but it's interesting reading the manifesto from the El Paso shooter because he was incredibly angry and in fear of. It was definitely racially fueled, but it's like he wasn't just like a flat out Nazi. He was placing blame, and that's one of the main things. It's like his inner placing blame on his inner problems, and that's the big thing. Is it no matter what, you can't blame how you feel on something that's outside yourself, and it's so key, and that goes to psychology in a sense and philosophy, that your inner struggles and your inner feelings really have to be dealt with in a very fine, very fine, um, involved, patient way. It's like back in the 80s, and when you're in your teens or your 20s, this type of thing, I don't remember it ever happening. It may have happened a little bit here and there, but if you were to look at statistics of mass shootings in the 80s, you'd probably see barely any. But people grabbed guitars, or they grabbed a microphone, or, they got politically involved. Like the early punk rock movement was very political. Um, and in the 80s sprung a whole lot of political punk bands. And the band that I was in, Subvert, it was spreading spreading a message, that look, this is what's going on, something's wrong, and we need to get together, talk, listen to each other, have gatherings, play music, spread information, write books, fanzines, you know, somehow spread to the masses that things need to change. When you read this kid's manifesto, it's scary because it's almost like he's being very articulate with these beliefs and how he feels about things. He talks about how automation, and he talks about a lot in detail, and it's like I listen to it, I can see he's completely brainwashed by what he's hearing online. It's absolutely true, absolutely true. There is there is a how do you explain it? That's why you have to be very careful. I think especially, I know there's lots of younger folks that I'm talking to on here. One of the most important things is to be compassionate no matter what, And when you're younger, you're not as you're more in your head. Um, and hatred can build, and contempt and blame, very easy. And I look at like my real sense of compassion didn't happen until later, though I was compassionate when I was younger. It's almost like it's more dangerous for a younger kid to hear. There's a certain type of speech and a certain type of person that can be very influential, through spreading hatred. But hatred, because just reading his manifesto, you can see, I mean, it's just like, man, you know, it's just it's the blame thing, you know, it really is. It's the blame thing. It's the lack of just realizing that we all deal with the same type of feelings, you know. That unhappiness, that desperation is, we all feel it. I mean, even if you have a whole lot of money, I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to be happy all the time, you know. I mean, in fact, people that have a whole lot of money, you know, like Kurt is a obvious example, you know. I mean, things go the other direction no matter where you are in life, and the state of the world hangs on a thin thread, and it's the mental health of the psyche. There's no two ways about it. You know, that's why people saying we got to take all the guns away or whatever. In that case, it's like, see, that's not, no matter what, that's not the answer. That'll help, you know, if you can make it harder for 19, 21-year-old or whoever to buy an assault weapon. I mean, obviously, if it'll make that harder, then that's one thing. But there's already so many in the public that this type of thing, I just keep thinking about that. That manifesto is extremely, it could be very influential. He's actually talking about being influenced by the Christchurch shooter. I guess there was I don't remember what that shooter, but that guy did a mass killing with a gun, and he wrote a manifesto. And this guy is like talking about being inspired by that guy. So we got that going on. We got mass shooters inspiring other mass shooters, and they're politically motivated. And this is written pretty good, and it's almost like it almost shouldn't be public, because there's kids out there or whoever. I mean, I'm not going to say just kids, but it could be anybody, you know. It could be a woman next, you know. Who knows? I'm just saying, you know, it could be a 50-year-old woman, right? It's just, it's brutal, and it's scary that things have gotten to this point, and it's not like it's going to stop. Because there's a lot of hatred, a lot of animosity and blame towards those that are just trying to live, trying to have a decent life. I mean, that's really what's important, is just understanding that we're all in the same boat. It's like the whole immigration thing. You got to be careful when you're bitter towards immigrants. It's like you're putting blame, and you're placing something outside of yourself for your own inner conflicts. Don't let that happen. It's your inner conflicts. Anything has the closest blame would be your teachers and your parents. You know, and still, that's like outside of yourself. You have to you have to, but I'm just saying the most influential things in your life. But some of these, like this kid, literally, he's fuck not very old, I mean, he's the age where he could have been watching the same YouTube guy, whoever the fuck it is, Alex Jones, who knows, for years, and been absolutely, completely brainwashed. And that's a true thing, because when you're young, that's why a kid could be very creative and on top of his game. Then he goes through school, gets out of high school, and he's like completely just like, oh, I'll join the military, or I'll go to an 8-year college and take some useless classes and spend thousands of dollars on it and not even know why. It's because they want to go fucking party and get girls at their the coolest college and be in some fucking frat. It's just like, it's just fucking dumb. I don't know, man. So anyway, I'll stop. But yeah, the state of the world hangs on a thin thread, and that thin thread is the health of the human psyche, and it's personal to every person. Okay, thanks, bye.